Ryan Mitchell stood at his mother's grave with nothing but a worn suit and a broken heart, watching the only woman who ever believed in him get lowered into the ground. But what he didn't know was that his wife Jessica was already packing her bags to divorce him and marry his best friend Tyler 3 days after the funeral. Ryan, a struggling bookstore owner who'd spent his last decade caring for his dying mom while his marriage crumbled, believed he'd lost everything when his wife divorced him and handed him papers with Tyler's signature as her lawyer. Completely unaware that his mom had secretly built a $300 million empire and left every single dollar to the son she raised alone. Jessica married Tyler in a courthouse ceremony 2 weeks later, flashing her new ring around town while Ryan grieved in their old apartment. But neither his ex-wife nor his former best friend knew about the inheritance letter waiting in a lawyer's office downtown. What happens when a man who lost everything discovers he's worth $300 million and the wife who abandoned him at his lowest comes crawling back? What did Ryan do when he inherited $300 trillion that would shock his ex-wife so completely she'd question every choice she ever made? And why would a betrayal so deep, a divorce so cold, and a best friend's ultimate deception lead to a revenge so calculated it would leave everyone speechless? Ryan Mitchell's hands trembled as he held the cheap coffee in the fluorescent-lit waiting room of Patterson and Associates law firm. The letter had arrived yesterday, formal and urgent, requesting his presence for matters concerning the estate of Margaret Rose Mitchell. He'd almost thrown it away. His mother had died 3 weeks ago with nothing but medical bills and memories, and he'd buried her with money scraped together from maxing out his last credit card. The divorce papers sat in his messenger bag, signed and finalized yesterday. Jessica, his wife of 8 years, ex-wife now, the woman who'd promised to stand by him through everything, had waited exactly 72 hours after his mother's funeral to tell him she was leaving. Not just leaving, she was marrying Tyler Brooks, his best friend since college, the successful real estate developer who'd sat beside Ryan at the funeral and squeezed his shoulder while whispering condolences. Ryan remembered that moment with crystal clarity now. Tyler's hand on his shoulder, heavy with false sympathy. Jessica standing on Tyler's other side, her eyes dry, her hand already bare of the modest wedding ring Ryan had saved 6 months to buy. She'd removed it. At his mother's funeral, she'd already removed it. "Mr. Mitchell?" A woman in her 50s appeared, professional and kind. "I'm Dorothy Patterson. Please come with me." The office smelled like leather and old books, reminding Ryan painfully of his own struggling bookstore, the one Jessica had called "your little hobby" during their last fight. Dorothy gestured to a chair across from her massive desk and opened a file that seemed impossibly thick. "I understand this is a difficult time," Dorothy began, studying his face with an expression he couldn't read. "Your mother was a remarkable woman, Ryan. She was also one of my most meticulous clients for the past 30 years. Ryan blinked. "Client? My mom worked as a nurse. She could barely afford—" "Your mother," Dorothy interrupted gently, "was a brilliant investor and entrepreneur. She started with nothing, built everything in secret, and protected you from that world deliberately." The room tilted slightly. Ryan gripped the armrest. Dorothy slid a document across the desk. "Your mother's estate is valued at $37 million. You are the sole beneficiary. Everything, the investment portfolio, the commercial properties, the technology patents she acquired, the venture capital holdings, all of it transfers to you, effective immediately." The words made no sense. Ryan stared at the numbers, at his mother's signature, at the date she'd updated this will 6 months before her death when she could barely hold a pen. "This can't be real," he whispered. Dorothy opened another folder. "Your mother started investing in the early 80s with $500. She had an extraordinary talent for identifying emerging markets and undervalued companies. She bought property in Brooklyn before it gentrified, invested in tech startups before Silicon Valley became Silicon Valley, acquired patents for medical devices that became industry standard. She lived modestly, reinvested everything, and never touched the principal." Why didn't she tell me? Ryan's voice cracked. She wanted you to build your own life, make your own choices without the weight or temptation of wealth. She left you a letter. Dorothy handed him an envelope, his mother's handwriting across the front. Ryan's hand shook as he opened it. His mother's voice echoed through every word. My dearest Ryan, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're probably confused and angry. I kept this secret because I needed to know you'd become the man I raised you to be without money influencing your path. You chose compassion over profit when you opened that bookstore. You chose love when you married Jessica. You chose sacrifice when you cared for me these last years instead of chasing success. Now I need you to choose wisdom. Money reveals character. It doesn't create it. The people in your life will show you who they really are now. Some will love you for what you have. Some will regret how they treated you when you had nothing. Don't let bitterness poison the good heart you've always had. Build something meaningful. Help people who are struggling like we did. And remember, you were never poor. You always had enough love to be rich in the ways that matter. I'm so proud of you. All my love, Mom. Ryan read it 3 times, tears streaming down his face. Dorothy sat quietly, letting him grieve. Finally, he looked up. What happens now? Now, we begin the transfer process. I'll need you to make some decisions about asset management. But first, she hesitated. Has anyone else been informed about this inheritance? No, I just got your letter yesterday. Dorothy nodded slowly. I ask because your mother included specific instructions about discretion. She was very concerned about people who might suddenly take interest in you once your financial status change. Ryan thought of Jessica, of Tyler, of the divorce papers finalized yesterday with Jessica already wearing Tyler's engagement ring to the lawyer's office. I understand, he said quietly. I'd like to keep this private for now. Dorothy smiled. Your mother predicted you'd say that. She also left detailed recommendations about handling what she called fair weather relationships. She was remarkably perceptive about human nature. Ryan left the office 3 hours later with new bank accounts, a financial advisor team, and a completely different life. He walked through the city in a daze, past the bookstore he'd have to close next month because he couldn't make rent, past the apartment he'd already moved out of, past Tyler's real estate office with its gleaming windows and photos of luxury properties. His phone buzzed. Jessica, can we talk? I feel like we ended badly. Tyler and I want to stay friends with you. Ryan stared at the message. 3 weeks ago, this would have destroyed him. The casual cruelty of it, the audacity. Now, with his mother's letter fresh in his mind and $300 million in his future, he felt something unexpected. Not rage, not even satisfaction. Clarity. He remembered everything now with new eyes. Jessica's gradual withdrawal over the past 2 years, always coinciding with Tyler's rising success. The way she'd started comparing Ryan's bookstore to Tyler's properties, Ryan's old car to Tyler's Mercedes, Ryan's devotion to his dying mother to Tyler's freedom to travel whenever he wanted. The lunches she'd had with Tyler that she'd called networking. The way Tyler had offered to help with his mother's medical bills while suddenly pointing out everything Ryan couldn't provide. They'd been planning this. While Ryan sat by his mother's hospital bed, reading her favorite books aloud and holding her hand through the pain, Jessica and Tyler had been building their future together. They'd waited just long enough after the funeral to seem respectful. His mother had known. Somehow she'd known. That's why her letter warned him about people showing their true character. Ryan walked to a small park and sat on a bench watching the sunset. He could do anything now. Buy Tyler's entire real estate company and fire him. Finance a bookstore empire that would crush every chain in the city. Hire the most expensive lawyers and make Jessica regret every choice. But his mother's words echoed. Don't let bitterness poison the good heart you've always had. He thought for a long time. Then he made a decision that would shock everyone who thought they knew him. Ryan wasn't going to tell anyone about the money. Not yet. He was going to watch and learn who people really were when they thought he had nothing. He was going to build something his mother would be proud of. And when the time was right, when Jessica and Tyler revealed exactly who they'd become, he'd show them what true character looked like. Not revenge, something better. Justice. Ryan spent the next week living in a modest hotel room, pretending his life was falling apart while secretly meeting with Dorothy and her team. They set up trusts, investment strategies, and what Dorothy called strategic positioning. His mother had been wise about more than money. She'd left detailed notes about patience, timing, and the art of letting people show their true nature. The bookstore closing was real enough. Ryan couldn't make rent, and he decided not to use his inheritance to save it. Not yet. Instead, he worked his final days there, boxing up books and memories while customers who'd known him for years offered condolences about his mother and awkward sympathy about his divorce. Mrs. Chen, who bought romance novels every Tuesday, hugged him. "That wife of yours never deserved you, honey." And Tyler Brooks, "I never trusted that man. Too smooth, too many teeth in that smile." Ryan appreciated her loyalty more than she'd ever know. On Thursday, Jessica texted again. "Tyler and I are having a dinner party Saturday. We'd love for you to come. No awkwardness, I promise. We want you to see that we can all be adult about this." Ryan stared at the message with something close to wonder. The audacity was breathtaking. They wanted him at their dinner party. The celebration of their relationship built on his grief so they could feel better about their betrayal. So they could tell their friends, "Look how mature we all are. Ryan's fine with it." He texted back, "Sure. What time?" Saturday arrived with autumn rain. Ryan dressed in his worn suit, the same one he'd worn to his mother's funeral, and took an Uber to Tyler's penthouse. The building was everything Tyler loved: glass, chrome, expensive. The lobby dripped with wealth. Ryan remembered visiting here once, early in his friendship with Tyler, feeling out of place but impressed. Now he saw it differently. This was Tyler's armor, his proof of worth measured in square footage and views. The elevator opened to Tyler's floor. Music drifted from the open penthouse door. Jazz, sophisticated, the kind Tyler claimed to love but never actually listened to. Ryan walked in. "Ryan!" Tyler appeared immediately, all teeth and practiced enthusiasm. He wore a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than Ryan's monthly bookstore rent used to be. "Man, so glad you came. Takes a big person to do this." Ryan shook his hand, noting how Tyler's grip was just slightly too firm, establishing dominance. "Wouldn't miss it." Jessica emerged from the kitchen, stunning in a dress Ryan had never seen. She'd lost weight. Her hair was different. She looked like money now, like she'd always wanted to look. "Ryan!" She kissed his cheek, a gesture so familiar and foreign it made his stomach turn. "Thank you for coming. I know this is weird, but I really think we can all move forward positively." "Absolutely," Ryan said, his voice steady. "You both look happy." And they did. That was the thing that struck him most. Jessica glowed with satisfaction, and Tyler radiated triumph. They'd won. They had each other. They had money. They had this life. And Ryan, poor, grieving, divorced Ryan, was here to validate their choices by accepting his defeat gracefully. Other guests arrived: real estate developers, investment bankers, people who measured success in portfolios and property. Tyler introduced Ryan as "my oldest friend," with a hand on his shoulder, that same heavy hand from the funeral. Jessica played the gracious hostess, occasionally touching Tyler's arm with ownership. Ryan watched it all with the detachment of someone studying a play. He sipped cheap wine. Tyler had expensive bottles but served guests the middle shelf stuff and listened to conversations about market trends and vacation homes. Nobody asked about his mother. Nobody asked about the bookstore. He was furniture, a prop in Tyler and Jessica's narrative of enlightened post-divorce friendship. Then Marcus Freeman arrived, Tyler's biggest investor, a man worth billions who'd made his fortune in tech. Ryan had met him once, years ago, at another of Tyler's parties. "Tyler," Marcus boomed, "hell of a place you've got here. Must be doing well with those Brooklyn developments." Tyler's smile was pure smugness. "Can't complain. We're expanding into Queens next year. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about a partnership opportunity." "Always hustling," Marcus laughed. "That's what I like about you, Brooks. You know how to spot opportunity." His eyes landed on Ryan. "Don't I know you? Ryan Mitchell?" Ryan said, shaking his hand. "We met a few years back." "Mitchell?" Marcus's eyes sharpened with recognition. "Wait, Margaret Mitchell was your mother?" The room went quiet. Tyler and Jessica both turned, confused. "Yes," Ryan said simply. Marcus's entire demeanor changed. "I heard about her passing. I'm so sorry. Your mother was extraordinary. She invested in my first startup back in '94 when nobody else would touch it, gave me $100,000 and told me to build something that mattered. Changed my life." Ryan felt something crack in his chest. She never mentioned that. She wouldn't. Margaret didn't invest for recognition. She invested in people she believed in. Marcus studied Ryan with new intensity. "Are you in business? Investment?" "I own a bookstore." "Well, I did. It's closing." "A bookstore?" Marcus smiled, not mockingly, but with genuine interest. "Margaret told me once that she loved bookstores because they were places where people invested in ideas, not just profits." "What kind of bookstore?" "Small, independent, focused on local authors, community events, reading programs for kids." Ryan's stare burning into him but kept his eyes on Marcus. "That's beautiful. That's exactly the kind of thing Margaret would love." Marcus pulled out his phone. "Give me your number. I'd like to talk more. I'm actually looking to invest in community-focused ventures, bookstores, local businesses, things that build culture instead of just extracting profit." Tyler materialized at Ryan's elbow. "Marcus, you don't need to. Ryan's going through a tough time right now. Divorce, financial troubles. I'm sure he's not really in a position to." "I'm asking Ryan, not you," Marcus said coolly, and something in his tone made Tyler step back. Ryan gave Marcus his number. They talked for 20 minutes about books, community, Margaret's philosophy of meaningful investment. The party continued around them, but Ryan felt the shift. Tyler kept glancing over, his smile strained. Jessica hovered nearby, listening with an expression Ryan couldn't quite read. When Marcus left, he shook Ryan's hand warmly. "I'll call you this week. Your mother saw something in me when I had nothing. I'd like to pay that forward." After he left, Tyler poured himself a heavy drink. "That was random. Marcus usually doesn't give anyone that much attention." "He knew my mom," Ryan said simply. Jessica touched Ryan's arm. "I didn't know your mother was connected to people like Marcus Freeman." "She knew a lot of people. She was a nurse for 40 years. She met everyone." But the seed was planted.
Ryan could see it in Jessica's eyes, in the way Tyler reassessed him. They were wondering, not about money yet, they couldn't imagine that, but about connections, opportunities, things they dismissed as irrelevant. Ryan left early, thanking them for their hospitality. As he walked out, he heard Tyler's voice lower now, talking to Jessica. "Did you know his mother knew Marcus Freeman? That could have been useful before we—" The door closed on the rest. Monday morning, Marcus Freeman called. They met at a coffee shop in Brooklyn, far from Tyler's world of glass and chrome. "I looked into your bookstore," Marcus said, sliding a folder across the table. "Mitchell's books, good reviews, strong community presence, solid programming. Why is it closing?" "Can't make rent? The building owner is selling to developers." "Tyler Brooks's company?" "Yes, actually." Marcus nodded slowly. "Your mother taught me that the best investments aren't about maximum profit, they're about maximum impact. She said profit follows purpose, not the other way around. I've made billions following that philosophy." He opened the folder. "Here's what I see. A successful community bookstore being crushed by predatory real estate practices so someone can build luxury condos nobody needs. Your mother would call that extractive capitalism. She hated it." "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we buy the building. We keep your bookstore, add community spaces, maybe a small cafe. We make it a model for sustainable local business. Not maximum profit, meaningful profit. Profit that serves the community." Ryan studied Marcus carefully. "Why would you do this?" "Because your mother invested in me when I needed it, and she taught me that wealth is responsibility. Also," Marcus smiled slightly, "because Tyler Brooks represents everything I dislike about modern real estate. Extractive, soulless, community-destroying. Your mother told me once that she worried about people like him. People who measure worth in possessions rather than contributions. She said a lot of things. She was remarkably perceptive about character." Marcus leaned back. "So, are you interested?"
Ryan thought about his mother's letter, about building something meaningful, about not letting bitterness poison his heart, but still standing up for what mattered. "Yes," he said, "but on one condition: we do this right. Fair wages, sustainable practices, genuine community involvement, not just a vanity project." Marcus extended his hand. "Your mother would be proud." The purchase happened quickly. Marcus Freeman's lawyers moved faster than Tyler's could react. The building that housed Mitchell's books was sold to Freeman Capital before Tyler even knew it was happening. The deal included protections for existing tenants and strict requirements about maintaining community-focused businesses. Tyler called Ryan, his voice tight. "Did you know Marcus Freeman was buying that building? He mentioned he was interested in community preservation." "Community preservation?" Tyler laughed bitterly. "That's prime development property. We were going to—" He stopped. "Never mind. It's just surprising, that's all. Marcus usually doesn't get involved in small-scale stuff." "Maybe he's changing his focus," Ryan said, and let the silence stretch. After Tyler hung up, Ryan allowed himself a small smile. Not revenge, just consequences. The bookstore reopened with funding for renovation. Marcus insisted they do it right. Better shelving, comfortable reading areas, a small performance space for local authors and musicians. He invested $2 million in what he called community infrastructure. Word spread. Local papers covered the story. Billionaire Marcus Freeman saves beloved bookstore, defies development trend. They interviewed Ryan, who talked about his mother's love of reading, her belief in community, her quiet generosity. He never mentioned the inheritance, never mentioned his mother's investments or wealth. Jessica saw the article. She texted, "Saw the news about the bookstore. That's amazing. Marcus Freeman is incredible. You must be so excited." Ryan didn't respond. 2 days later, she texted again. "Can we have coffee? I feel like we left things badly between us. I'd love to catch up properly." He deleted the message. Tyler called. "Hey man, I'm sorry about how I acted about the building. That was petty. Marcus investing in your store is great, really great. Listen, I'd love to take you out, celebrate properly, and I wanted to run something by you. If you've got Marcus Freeman's ear, maybe we could all talk about some partnership opportunities. Your bookstore could be a model. I've got ideas about community-focused developments that—" "I'll think about it," Ryan said, and hung up. He met with Dorothy that afternoon. "They're circling," he said. "Your mother predicted this. She called it the sudden value recognition phase. People who hurt you are suddenly interested in friendship again. Remember, they're not seeing you. They're seeing opportunity. Don't be cruel, but don't be a fool either. Test them. Give them chances to show genuine remorse or continued self-interest. Their choices will reveal everything. But here's the important part. Don't lose yourself in games. Don't become the kind of person who uses wealth as a weapon. Use it as a mirror. Let it reflect people's true nature back at them. Then decide who deserves a place in your future."
And remember, some people won't change. Jessica chose comfort over love. Tyler chose opportunity over friendship. Those are character revelations, not temporary mistakes. Believe them. Ryan folded the letter carefully. She really did know everything. "She was dying for 2 years, Dorothy said quietly. She had time to think about what mattered and what didn't. She used that time to protect you from every pitfall she could imagine. What do I do now? You live your life. Build your bookstore. Help your community. And when Jessica and Tyler show you who they really are, because they will, you'll know exactly how to respond." 3 months passed. The bookstore thrived. Ryan hired staff, built programs, created spaces for the community to gather. He lived simply, still in his modest hotel room, still driving his old car, still wearing his worn suits. To everyone in his neighborhood, he was just Ryan Mitchell, the guy who'd saved the bookstore with Marcus Freeman's help. But word was spreading in certain circles. Marcus Freeman had introduced Ryan to other investors, other philanthropists. They'd heard about Margaret Mitchell's legendary instincts, her quiet empire, her son who'd inherited her values, if not, as they assumed, her fortune. Tyler heard the rumors. He called Ryan weekly now, suggesting dinners, partnerships, opportunities. Ryan accepted one dinner. They met at an expensive restaurant, Tyler's treat. "I've been thinking," Tyler said, cutting into his steak. "You and Marcus have something special, real community connection. I've got capital and development expertise. What if we partnered? We could do genuine community-focused development, not the extractive stuff, real, sustainable growth." Ryan sipped his water. "Why the change in philosophy?" "I'm realizing there's more to success than profit margins. Jessica's been pointing it out too. She always said you had the right values, even when we—" He stopped, regrouped. "Even when things were difficult. Jessica said that she feels terrible about how things ended. She said so many times the timing was awful right after your mom's funeral. We weren't thinking clearly. We were caught up in our own stuff and didn't consider your feelings." Ryan sat down his glass carefully. "You were caught up in your own stuff." "Yes, exactly." Tyler leaned forward. "Listen, I know I screwed up. I know the way things happened wasn't right, but I've known you since college, man. That matters. And now we have a chance to do something meaningful together, something your mom would have been proud of." The invocation of his mother made Ryan's jaw tighten. "Don't—" "What?" "Don't use my mother to manipulate me. You never knew her. You visited once in 2 years while she was dying, once for 20 minutes. You brought expensive flowers she was allergic to and talked about your properties the entire time." Tyler's face reddened. "That's not fair. I was busy. I didn't know she—" "You didn't care," Ryan said quietly. "You didn't care because she was dying and couldn't offer you anything. Just like you didn't care about me once Jessica decided I couldn't offer her the lifestyle she wanted. Now wait a minute. I'm not angry, Tyler. I'm just clear. You're here because you think I'm connected to Marcus Freeman's money. You think I'm a gateway to opportunities. You're not wrong about that, but what you don't understand is that I learned from my mother how to recognize people who love what you have versus people who love who you are." Tyler's expression hardened. "So what? You just gonna cut me out? Forget 15 years of friendship?" "I'm not forgetting anything. That's the problem. I remember all of it, including the parts you'd prefer I didn't." Ryan stood, placed money on the table for his meal. "The bookstore is doing well. Thanks for asking. I'm helping 3 other community businesses Marcus is investing in. Also, thanks for asking. And I'm starting a foundation in my mother's name to support small business owners facing predatory real estate practices. Really appreciate your concern about all that." He walked out. Tyler didn't follow. Jessica called the next day. Her voice was tight, controlled. "Tyler said you basically accused him of using you. That's not fair, Ryan. He genuinely cares about you." "Is that why you're calling? To defend Tyler?" Silence. Then, "I'm calling because I think we need to talk. Really talk. Can I come by the bookstore?" "Why?" "Because I owe you an apology. A real one. Not the surface stuff I said before. But I need to explain some things." Against his better judgment, Ryan agreed. She came that afternoon, dressed casually in a way that seemed calculated to remind him of better times. She walked through the renovated bookstore, touching spines, examining the reading spaces. "It's beautiful," she said finally. "You really did it." "Marcus made it possible." "I heard rumors about your mother, that she was more than just a nurse, that she knew people, had investments." There it was. Ryan kept his expression neutral. "My mother was a nurse who lived modestly and left me memories and values. That's all I need." Jessica turned to face him. "I made a mistake, Ryan. Leaving you when I did, the way I did. It was cruel, and I'm sorry." "You're sorry?" "I am. I got caught up in Tyler's world, in the idea of security and success. I forgot what actually mattered. I forgot that you were always there, always steady, always kind. And now," she moved closer, "now I see what Tyler really is. He's obsessed with climbing social ladders, with making deals, with impressing people. He doesn't actually care about community or meaning. He cares about looking like he cares." "And you think I'm different?" "I know you are. You always were. I was just too shallow to appreciate it." Her eyes were wide, sincere. "I think we ended things too quickly. I think if we'd waited, if I hadn't been so impulsive." "You think we should get back together?"
I think we should talk about it. I miss you, Ryan. I miss us.
The real us, before everything got complicated. Ryan looked at her. Really looked at her. She was beautiful, polished, everything she'd wanted to be. And she was empty. He could see it now, the hollowness beneath the shine. "No," he said simply. "No, you don't miss me, Jessica. You miss the idea of me. Or maybe you miss what you think I've become, but you don't actually know who I am. You never did." "That's not true. You left me 3 days after I buried my mother, the only person who ever really loved me unconditionally. You didn't even wait a week. You were already wearing Tyler's ring at the funeral." Her face flushed. "I explained that we got caught up. You got caught up in seeing an opportunity and taking it. That's fine. That's your choice. But don't come here now and pretend it was a mistake just because Tyler isn't what you thought he'd be, or because you heard rumors that my mother had connections. This isn't about money, is it? When did you start missing me, Jessica? Before or after you saw Marcus Freeman's name attached to mine in the paper?" She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "You're being unfair. I'm being honest. My mother taught me the difference." Jessica's expression shifted, hardness creeping in. "Fine. You want honesty? You were drowning, Ryan. Your mother was dying. Your bookstore was failing. You had no prospects. I couldn't watch you sink anymore. Tyler offered stability, a future. I took it. That's survival." "You're right," Ryan said quietly. "That is survival. But it's not love. It's not partnership. It's not what I want in my life." "And what do you want? To pretend you're noble while you use Marcus Freeman's money to play hero? You're doing the same thing Tyler does, just with better PR. Maybe. But at least I'm honest about what I'm building, and I'm building it for the right reasons." Jessica grabbed her purse. At the door, she turned. "You're going to regret this. Tyler and I are moving forward. We're making things happen. You'll stay stuck in this little bookstore playing community hero while the real world moves on without you." "That's fine," Ryan said. "I'd rather be stuck here with purpose than moving forward without one." She left. Ryan stood among his books, feeling lighter than he had in years. Dorothy called 2 days later. "I think it's time," she said. "Time for what?" "Your mother's final instruction. She wanted you to wait 6 months after her death, after the initial grief, after the opportunists revealed themselves. She left something at the office for you." Ryan met her that afternoon. Dorothy handed him a video file on a tablet. "She recorded this a week before she died. She wanted you to see it after you'd had time to experience life with and without the people in your world." He pressed play. His mother's face appeared, thin from illness, but eyes still sharp. "Hi, baby," she said, and Ryan's throat closed. "If you're watching this, it means 6 months have passed. It means you've had time to grieve, to adjust, to see who stayed and who left. I hope I'm right about what I predicted. I usually am." She smiled, that familiar smile that meant she knew more than she was saying. "You have $300 million now, Ryan. That's terrifying, and wonderful, and complicated. Money this size doesn't just affect your life, it tests everyone around you. I knew that. I planned for it. By now, Jessica has left you. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I knew she would. I saw it in her eyes years ago, the way she measured love in tangible securities. She didn't love you. She loved the idea of you loving her. There's a difference." Tyler revealed himself too. I imagine he was always the kind of man who measured friendship in utility. I never trusted him. He smiled too much at things that weren't funny. But here's what I want you to understand. They didn't betray you because you weren't enough. They betrayed you because they never were. That's not your failure. That's theirs. Now comes the important part. You have a choice about what kind of wealthy person you become. You can be Tyler, extractive, greedy, using money as power. You can be bitter, using wealth as revenge. Or you can be what I tried to be, someone who understands that money is responsibility. I built my fortune in secret because I wanted you to build your character without it. You did. You chose kindness over profit. You chose care over convenience. You chose love even when it cost you everything.
Now I'm asking you to choose purpose. Don't hide your wealth forever. Use it. Build things that matter. Help people the way I tried to help people. Create opportunities for those who deserve them. And this is important. Don't be ashamed of having money. Be intentional about using it well. There's an account Dorothy will show you after this video. It's separate from the main inheritance. I've been setting aside money for years specifically for people like you, people who were kind to me, or who struggled despite doing everything right, or who just needed a chance. I want you to be in charge of that fund now, $100 million dedicated to giving people the opportunities I never had. You'll know who deserves it. Trust your instincts. Trust the values I raised you with. And Ryan, don't let Jessica or Tyler make you cruel. Don't let their small hearts make yours small too. Let them go with grace. Focus on building the world you want to live in, not on punishing them for living in theirs. I love you. I'm proud of you. Now go build something beautiful. The video ended. Ryan sat in silence, tears streaming down his face. Dorothy handed him tissues. "The Margaret Mitchell Foundation," she said. "She set it up 5 years ago. You're the chairman now. $100 million in capital, with instructions to grow it through careful investment while distributing grants annually. She planned everything. She planned to protect you and prepare you. There's one more thing." Dorothy handed him another envelope. "She wrote letters, dozens of them, to people she helped over the years, people she invested in, people whose lives she touched.
She wanted them delivered after her death, each one explaining what she did and why, and introducing you as someone who might continue her work. Why? Because she wanted you to have a network of people who understood what she built and why, people who knew her values. Marcus Freeman was the first, but there are others. CEOs, artists, teachers, activists, people she quietly supported who built meaningful things with her help. Ryan opened the envelope. Inside were 50 names, addresses, stories. His mother's careful handwriting described each person, what they'd overcome, what they'd built, why they mattered. She wanted me to know I wasn't alone. She wanted you to know you're part of something larger than yourself, a legacy of meaningful investment, strategic generosity, and purpose-driven wealth. She spent 30 years building this network, and now it's yours. Ryan spent the next 3 months reaching out to the people on his mother's list. Each conversation was a revelation. A tech CEO who'd started with Margaret's investment in his dorm room. A teacher who'd founded a school for underserved kids with her grant. An artist whose gallery existed because Margaret believed in beauty. A non-profit director whose organization fought food insecurity because Margaret understood hunger. They all knew his mother. They all grieved her. They all wanted to honor her by supporting him. Marcus Freeman organized a gathering, not a party, but a memorial and planning session. 50 people gathered in a community center in Brooklyn, the kind of space Margaret would have loved. They shared stories, memories, and then they talked about the future. "Margaret taught me that wealth without purpose is hoarding," Marcus said. "She taught me that the point of having money isn't to have more, it's to do more." She lived that philosophy every day. Now we have Ryan, who learned those values firsthand. I propose we formalize our network. We share resources. We coordinate investments. We amplify each other's impact. We build what Margaret started. Everyone agreed. They formed the Margaret Mitchell Network, a coalition of values-driven investors and entrepreneurs committed to purposeful wealth. Ryan became the coordinator, the inheritor not just of his mother's money, but of her mission. News spread. The Wall Street Journal ran a feature, "The Secret Billionaire: Margaret Mitchell's Quiet Revolution in Responsible Wealth." The article detailed her strategy, her values, her incredible financial success achieved without exploitation or extraction. Ryan was interviewed, careful to honor his mother's privacy while sharing her philosophy. Tyler called. Ryan let it go to voicemail. Jessica sent a long email apologizing again, explaining how she'd made mistakes, how she'd grown, how she'd love to reconnect. Ryan deleted it without responding. He ran into them 3 weeks later at a charity gala. The Margaret Mitchell Network was donating $5 million to community development programs. Ryan was there, representing the foundation, dressed well now, not flashy but polished, confident,
comfortable. Jessica saw him first. Her face went white. Tyler turned, his expression cycling through confusion, recognition, and something like horror. Ryan nodded politely. "Jessica? Tyler? Ryan?" Jessica's voice was thin. "I didn't know you'd be here. I'm with the Margaret Mitchell Foundation. We're donors." Tyler's jaw worked. "Your mother's foundation?" "My mother built it. I run it now." The pieces were clicking together for them. The rumors, the connections, Marcus Freeman, the Wall Street Journal article they'd obviously read, the money that had been there all along, hidden, waiting. "You inherited," Tyler started. "I inherited my mother's values and her life's work, yes." Jessica touched her throat, her new diamond necklace catching light. "You let us think." "I didn't let you think anything. You thought what you wanted to think."
You saw what you wanted to see. Neither of you ever asked about my mother's life, her work, what mattered to her. You were too busy measuring success in ways she taught me didn't matter. "That's not fair," Tyler said, his voice rising. "You deliberately hid. I deliberately lived my life. You deliberately showed me who you were when you thought I had nothing. Thank you for that. It was clarifying." Marcus Freeman appeared at Ryan's elbow. "Ryan, they're ready for the announcement." "Coming." Ryan turned back to Jessica and Tyler one last time. "My mother taught me that character is what you do when nobody's watching and nobody will know. You both showed me your character perfectly. I hope you build the life you wanted together. I really do. I just won't be part of it." He walked away. Behind him, he heard Jessica's sharp intake of breath, Tyler's muttered curse. He didn't look back. On stage, Ryan announced $5 million in grants to 12 community organizations. He talked about his mother's vision, her values, her belief that wealth was responsibility. He introduced the Margaret Mitchell Network and its mission to transform how wealth worked in society. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, during the reception, a young woman approached him. She looked nervous, maybe 25, dressed in second-hand professional clothes. "Mr. Mitchell, I'm Sarah Chen. I run a nonprofit literacy program in the Bronx. We serve immigrant families. Your mother donated to us for 5 years. She never met me, never visited, never asked for recognition. She just believed in what we were doing. When she died, I cried for a week. She changed my life and the lives of thousands of kids." Ryan felt his chest tighten. "Thank you for telling me that. I wanted you to know what you're doing, continuing her work. It matters. She saw people others ignored. She invested in hope when it was cheaper to invest in cynicism. That's rare. That's precious." They talked for an hour. Sarah told him about her programs, her dreams, the obstacles she faced. Ryan listened, really listened, the way his mother had taught him. When she left, Dorothy appeared. "Your mother would be so proud." "I hope so." "I know. So, you chose grace over revenge, purpose over bitterness, building over destroying. That's who she raised you to be." Ryan looked around the room at the people talking about community, about impact, about meaning. His mother's people. His people now. He thought about Jessica and Tyler, probably still reeling in some corner, calculating what they'd lost. He thought about his mother's letter, her warning about bitterness poisoning good hearts. He felt no bitterness, just clarity, just purpose, just the solid foundation of knowing he'd become exactly who his mother raised him to be. "Dorothy," he said, "I want to expand the Foundation Scholarship Program. I want to focus on people caring for sick relatives, people who sacrifice career advancement for family, people like I was. Your mother allocated funding for exactly that. She called it the Caretaker Fund. $10 million for people who choose love over ambition. Of course she did. Of course she'd thought of everything." Ryan smiled. "Then let's get started." Across the room, Tyler and Jessica left early, their exit quiet and unnoticed. Ryan saw them go and felt nothing but peace. They'd shown him who they were, he'd shown them who he'd become, and he'd built something his mother would be proud of.